All right, shalom, shalom. First things first, I want to give all honor and praise unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. And we say, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. And we give double honors to our apostles and our elders, which are the apostle elders, a great millstone, which feed us with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through the spirit and power of Yahweh Yahushai. Let's jump right into this video. This is going to be a quick video. I was listening to this hell controversy, and I was watching the Apostles video going into the subject, listening to this guy. Let me see if I can find it. If it's on the... might be playing. Hold on, Slakia. Right here. Okay. This video right here.
Come on.
Revelation.
All right, where he reads, we'll play it. This is fair use, fair use. We'll play this section of the video, and then we'll jump right into the precepts, because once you read in context and you read what it's really speaking about and link the precept up, you'll see. All right. And it's also bringing out that the birds of heaven are going to be, have a meal. Okay. Where I didn't know birds eat in hell. So that's the simplicity of it. But let's go ahead and play this, and then we'll jump right into Revelations 19. And Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson just to show this is madness, what these guys are pushing. I read the scripture by Matthews where it says that the proselytes are two more fold childs of hell than those that taught them. Okay, and they're in danger of adding to the scriptures and taking away. Okay.
19:20. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet.
So America gonna be taken, and with him what?
The false prophet.
This is a perfect image right here. America gonna be taken, and so is the Pope, the entire Catholic religion, and all of Christianity, according to the Bible. The Bible says what?
And the beast was taken, and false prophet.
And with them the false prophet. Go ahead.
Who's the beast? You got to break down who the beast is. Can't skip over that. Who's the beast? Because once you understand who the beast is, because the beast is going into NATO, EU, the armies that are going to be gathered together. Okay, we'll get that here shortly, but you can't skip over that. You have to break down who the beast is.
That wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark.
Because who's going to push the mark? The mark is going to be under military law, martial law, warlike law. It's not going to be voluntary. Oh, you can get it if you want to. No, it's going to be under a martial-like law to push that. And what's that? What pushes martial law? Militaries. Okay, what was the Roman Empire? Military might. They ruled by military stronghold. They didn't just rule and it was willy-nilly. It was ruled by military ironclad fist. Okay, especially the Israelites. That's why you had the situation with 70 AD with Titus, Domitian, and Vespasian. Okay, Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. That's where you get the Ark of Titus from. All right, when they siege, when the Jerusalem was sacked, that was a military campaign. It wasn't just it can be anything you want it, or it can be willy-nilly, like it says. It's by force. That's what you is going to see in the time of the MOTB. It's going to be by force. You're not going to have a choice. They're going to make it something that you can choose at first, but then it's going to become mandatory, because it's not going to have no other guides for you to get money or use any transfer of currency. It's going to lock it into that system. That's why it's a beast system. Just like now, when the Social Security card came out, it was voluntary. You didn't have to get it. Now look at it. It's mandatory. You can't you can't do nothing without a Social Security card. But this system is going to speed up. It's not going to be a slow belly type of system. They're setting it up now. They're getting the guidelines, the skeletons, the outlines of this thing. And then once it really is ready to go, because they have the technology there, they have the infrastructure there. What's the infrastructure? That's the computing power to be able to process this. Everything you see with the UPC barcode has been a trial run for this system.
Beast.
That's sin. Those that accept sin are the ones that's deceived. Go ahead.
Sin, right? Sin has been around since the garden. Sin has been around since the time of the apostles. Paul said, there's no good thing that dwelleth in his flesh. So sin has been around. And it says if you take the mark, you can't renege on it. So it can't be sin. Sin has been around since the beginning when we fell in the time of Adam as the Adamites. That's going into a whole nother video, but we'll say in the time that Adam fell, sin has been around.
And them that worship his image.
Read.
These both were cast into the lake of fire,
Woo!
burning
Go ahead.
with brimstone.
Uh-huh.
And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse,
But everybody else, Christ gonna put to death. Go ahead.
which sword proceeded out of his mouth.
Come on.
And all the fowls were filled with their flesh.
Hey, at the bottom of verse 20, these both.
See, and the fowls were filled with their flesh, right? It's talking about the same incident. It's not talking about a separate incident. It's not talking about they're cast into the lake of fire and then turn around, then Yahushua slays them, and then the birds eat their flesh. They're breaking it down two different ways. If you listen what he says, listen again.
Death. Go ahead.
Which sword proceeded out of his remnant were slain with the
That accept sin are the ones that's deceived. Go
Listen to
ahead.
this part.
and them that worshipped his image.
Read.
These both were cast into the lake of fire,
Woo!
burning
Go ahead.
with brimstone.
Uh-huh.
And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse,
But everybody else, Christ gonna put to death. Go ahead.
which sword
What's brimstone? What's the brimstone? That's going into the missiles. That's going into the thermonuclear holocaust that's getting ready to take place. And then you're going to have Yahushua himself doing the damage. So it's the same incident. At the same, in an hour, this place is going to be cast down. So Yahushua is going to be doing damage at the same time, or after when you see the missiles. What the missiles don't get, Yahushua is going to clean up. If you want to see it in a plain picture, what the missiles don't get, because the missiles are going to come, Yahushua is going to have to deliver the elect out of that trumpet, okay? And then once that happens, once the deliverance happens, the Lord is going to finish the rest of the things off. That's what you see happening. It's a progression of events, not the lake of fire, and then all of a sudden Yahushua is going to kill those and put them in the lake of fire. How does that make sense? Or they're going to be cast into hell. First, the people it's talking about the nuclear destruction first, and then Yahushua is delivering the elect. Then Yahushua is going to be burning fire and putting fire on the earth, okay?
proceeded out of his mouth.
Come on.
And all the fowls were filled with their flesh.
Hey, at the bottom of verse 20, these both, the beast and the fowl.
Now let's read it. And it says, this is Revelations 19 and verse 20. It says, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him. It says, with which he deceived them that received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive. They were cast alive. You have to die, supposedly, to be into the lake of fire. Now, this is where you get cut. This is where things get sticky with that breakdown, because hell is a place you go to the bottom of the earth. Hell is a place you burn forever, correct? Earth is what you say the plane of the living. Okay, so where you see when they break down, they say Lazarus and the rich man, they were dead. Lazarus and the rich man were dead. Then the rich man died and he went to hell. Correct? That's the breakdown of that story. They both passed away. The rich man went to the burning and gnashing of teeth. And then Lazarus went into Abraham's bosom. So that's their precept for hell in the breakdown of that. But look what it says here. Both that worshipped his image, they both were cast alive. Alive. Let's look up what the word alive means. It means
Strong's G 2198. Zao. Zao.
and the meaning of it is to live, breathe. You ain't breathing in it. You a spirit. Because the rich man and Lazarus, if that's the precept to hell, they were dead. So how are they cast into the lake of fire alive? Because this word there, it means to live, breathe, be among the living, not lifeless, not dead. That means these men were alive. It's speaking about the situation on the earth, because they will be alive once they attack Yahushua. And I'm going to get the precept. Once they do what they're doing, the Lord is going to judge them, and then they will not be like, he's going to unalive them. And then that's it. There is no hell and mystical place, because the judgment that is going to be given unto those men and unto those that are fighting against the Lord, that's going to be their judgment. So it says, be among the living, not the dead, to enjoy real life, to have true life, worthy of the name, alive, blessed, endless, in the name of the kingdom, to live, i.e. past life, the manner of living and acting, mortal or character, or Salakia, of mortals. That's the main thing here. So now let's go back and read it. So if we go on with their understanding, it says that the prophet, the false prophet, that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that received the mark, okay, of the beast, and them that worshipped his image, these both were cast alive into the lake of fire. So the lake of fire is this place you go as a spirit, not a live entity. Mortal, because the word there for alive means mortal, not dead. So that means they were not dead when they went. They're in this lake of fire. They're burning in this lake of fire because their bodies are going to be burning. Then they pass, just like the Tesla video. The man was in that Tesla burning, and he was still alive, hollering out. He was still alive. He wasn't passed yet. He eventually passed, but he was still alive, burning in there, man. With brimstone burning. So the same, what is brimstone? Because brimstones are in the missiles. Okay. Then you have the Lord that rained down brimstone on Sodom and Gomorrah, which you would see sulfur. Okay. So those people were alive in that city. Those people were breathing and alive in the city, but they received the judgment of the fire raining down upon them. So it's not speaking about an actual place, you mystical place you go as a spirit, because Lazarus, the story of Lazarus and the rich man, that they both died already before they entered into those judgments. So it's not speaking about that if they were already passed away. They passed away because that shows you when you go to the spirit world, you receive your judgment, you serve it on the earth as a mortal. Okay. Now let's get the precept. Now, how we, and then it says that the fowls, it says the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse. Now remember this part, the horse. What is the horse? A horse represents power. Okay. They're speaking about a chariot that the Lord is going to come in and judge them. There's not going to be a horse in a mystical hell that Yahushua is coming in, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. Because after this thing happens, you're going to have massive amounts of dead carcasses. Then the birds are going to feed on those carcasses because the Lord has promised them a feast. You can look that up too. But the main thing is here. And this is now this is the precept to it in the Apocrypha. Now we're going to read more into that story in context. This is 2nd Ezra 13 and verse, let's start at 5. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a great multitude of men. Now let's stop. Let's go back to Revelations 19 and verse 20 and read it again. It says, and the beast was taken. Oh, let's start at 19. And I saw the beast. So the beast is representation of the EU, NATO, the armies of Esau, these other nations. That's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a vision that was given to John on the Isle of Patmos, and then it was also given to Ezra, just like the vision was given to Daniel. The vision was given to Ezra also. The different versions of the same dream. Daniel was receiving the vision. The miry clay of That was the vision of the feet, partly strong and partly weak. That was the same vision that we're seeing here. This is that vision, but it's being explained in a different way, in a different metaphor. Okay? It says, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth. What are the kings of the earth? Psalms 83. That's the kings of the earth. That's those that are against the Most High's ways and will. Starting with the Edomites, which we know that they're the rulers of the earth now because going into the petrodollar. Who controls the currency of the world right now is the petrodollar, the U.S. That's why they vetoed the bill that with the Amalekites and the Palestinians. They were the deciding vote. And I saw the beast and the kings, because the kings included in that beast, because that goes into NATO and the EU. And their armies, because what is NATO? It's an army. The same thing that's going against Russia is an army. Gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. And what's that? The angels in them. The angels, okay? Let's read this here. This is 3. And I beheld, and lo, the man Salakia. Let's start at verse 3. It says, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, the armies, back in Revelations 19, in verse 19. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and his army. Now, what is it speaking about, his army? Back in 2nd Ezra 13 in verse 3, and I beheld, and lo, the man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. That's the army. And he turned his countenance to look. All things trembled that were seen under him, because he graved himself a great that sat on that horse. This is the same. It's talking the same thing in the same chapter. All of that verse is saying the same thing in a different way. Instead of a horse, he said he trembled that sat under him. Under what? And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth all day. So Yahushua was floating through the continent, okay? And he was burning those. He was burning the people that he came across. He was burning them. That's what it says. Lasers were coming out. Any that heard his voice, because what does it say? Out of his mouth. Let's read it again. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice. Because it wasn't talking about an actual voice. It was talking about a beam. It says, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. So it's not talking about an actual voice. It's talking about a laser beam. It made maybe a ram's horn sound or some. There's a sound that came out, and then the beam burnt those that were under that sound. When the beam went off, this is just like you see the Planet Earth movies, or the I forget those alien movies. The one with not Brad Pitt, but what's the hell that dude's name, man? I forget the guy's name. It'll come to me, Lord willing. It'll come to me. Damn, it's right there on not Keanu Reeves, but I forget his name. We'll keep going. He was the Scientology guy. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. And it says, all the things trembled that were seen under him, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there were gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven. So instead of the four winds, it's talking about the kings of the earth. Because what's on the four winds of the earth? Different continents, which include different nations, which include leaders, ergo armies, ergo kings, to subdue the man that came out of the sea, which is outer space. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. Let's go here. And I saw an angel standing. Let's go to 19. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, same thing, and the armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse. So it's not talking about Yahushua riding on a horse on the ground. It's talking about the horse is a speaking of that mountain, that chariot that's in the sky. But John seen it as a horse. Ezra seen it as a mountain. And against his army is the thousands of heaven that Ezra described. And the beast was taken with him, and the false prophet, and wrought miracles before him, which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. Okay, so now let's back it up. Now let's finish the rest of the story that Ezra seen. Like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number, NATO, EU, from the four winds of heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. And behold, and it says, but I beheld, and lo, he graved himself a great mountain, that horse, and flew up upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, but I could not. So that horse was huge. That mountain was huge. It's not speaking about a horse or a mountain, it's speaking about a UFO, a chariot, a megalithic chariot. It was big body. Just like Jake liked to say, it was a big body chariot. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, because it's a big ass chariot, and yet durst fight, just like you see Independence Day. And lo, I saw that the violence of the multitude that came, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came. What's the violence? Missiles being fired, rockets, lasers, helicopter rounds. Picture that. That's what you see. That's what Ezra was seeing. He was like, what the hell are they doing? Ezra's never seen semi-automatic weapons. He just called it violence. That's what he could call it. It said they were doing something. I don't know what the hell that was, because Ezra's never seen a gun before. Ezra's never seen laser beams before. He never seen artillery rounds. He just knew that it was violent what they were doing, because it was attacking Yahweh's ship. He neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. This is the lake of fire. This is that burning. This is where the prophet and the armies and NATO was cast into. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, right? Read it again. Revelations 19 and verse 19. And it says, let's start at verse 20. And let's start at 20. It says, and the beast was taken with him, and the false prophet wrought miracles before him, and the deceived Salakia. Let's start at verse 21. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse. That's the sword that came out of his mouth. And which sword proceeded out of his mouth. And all the fowls were filled with their flesh, the which sword proceeded out of his mouth. On 21, read it again, Ezra's. And it says, for the verse 9, it says, and lo, he saw the violence of the multitude that he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were mixed all together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which were prepared to fight, and burned up every one. He sweeped it. Yahushua hit a beam, and he just swept across the whole landscape that the armies were on. The innumerable multitude, he just swept it. Like the apostle of the Gabar says, the besom of destruction. He just swept across the land and just eviscerated every single army, soldier. It says chariot, rider, metal. It says the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The Lord's got the fervent heat coming too. He's just right with the missiles. And it says, and fell with violence upon the multitude which were prepared, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was perceived but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. See? And then what did John see? And he said, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with his flesh. Because it's going to be burnt. It's going to be a barbecue, man. Yahushua is coming to slow smoke these heathens, man. He's going to put that laser beam and it's going to cook the flesh till the well. Oh man, I can see it. I can see it, man. I can see it. So Lord willing, edifying lesson. I'm gonna leave it there. This is just going into that fact. These guys are off. They're off, man. You know, they did take the bag. You know, what is the profit of man to gain the whole world but to lose his soul? It's over with, man. All right, they're adding and taking away from the scriptures. They don't the context. So Second Ezra and Second Ezra 13 and Revelation 19 and 21, 20 and 21 is speaking about the same thing. All right. So with that, I say Shalom and call hello Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Until the next time, I say Shalom and keep more now than ever. Keep faith.